This is episode 19 of the Arts Academy podcast with Victor Varnado and Roxxy Haze. How to make socially conscious art.
Welcome to the Arts Academy podcast. I am Dean Victor Varnado. This is my Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze. Today, what we're going to talk about is making socially conscious art. Now, if you know either of us, you may know that both of us are comedians, among other things. And it has come up more than a little bit during this time of like the pandemic and social unrest, which is obviously things that we take very, very seriously. But then a lot of comedians have been saying things like, well, it's you can't make jokes now, no jokes. In fact, some comedians have been policing other comedians about their jokes. And there have been a couple of discussions that I've had inside Facebook groups where people are asking, well, is this a time where you can actually make jokes? And so to answer that question, I'm going to, first of all, answer that question, and then we're going to talk about some jokes that I have made during these hard times. All right? But let me answer that question first. So the quick answer to whether or not you can make jokes during difficult times like now, the quick answer is yes, absolutely. Because your comedy is an art. All right. Now, also bear in mind that I am a person. My name is Victor Varnado. Yes, I am the dean of a school which I made, but beyond that, I have no authority over anybody else. I'm just giving you my opinion that you can definitely make jokes because comedy is an art. And like any art, you reflect the world around you. Okay. So in this case, like if you're a comedian or an artist or a visual artist or a writer or whatever, I think it is your job to communicate with people, because here's something that art does, especially if you're a comedian or a writer, actually art in general, what art does, and this is what it helps people with, like when you're making socially conscious art, a lot of the times what it will do is it will take the ideas that the viewer has and present it succinctly. Okay. And I know this especially applies to things like I do. Like, for instance, I do a lot of cartoons. And so a lot of my cartoons will take an idea, say it in a succinct way, so that not only people will have something that says what they want to say, but in a better way. But then they have something that they can share with people and then also share with others to get their point across, maybe with better verbiage than they can themselves muster, or say it in a more succinct message than they themselves can muster. That's one of the best things that I think socially conscious art can do. It can put things in a nutshell for people. Like if you're just saying like, this is silly, and this is why it's silly in such a way that people can understand it, socially conscious art can do that. And so I say, go for it. Go socially conscious art, 100%. I mean, how do you feel about that? Are you a person who does a lot of what you would consider socially conscious art?
I kind of do, but not. I'm doing much more now. My overall brand is, like blurred and kind of geeky stuff. So I kind of had to tailor back what I normally do and kind of change it more to, like you're saying, socially conscious art. I feel like what people get wrong about it a lot of times is they'll say something. What's the word? I'm not good at words, which I should be because I'm a comedian. But they'll say something that can be taken as offensive. More so like during times like this, I don't feel like you should be trying to be offensive. Or if you're going to be offensive, you have to understand that there's going to be backlash because everybody's online and everybody is really emotional right now. You know what I mean?
All right. And I guess I would disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say that sometimes you can be offensive if you're smart about it, because you may want to elicit emotion from people. But if your message is purposeful, then it can be a good type of offense. Like it's fine to offend people that may think differently than you. What?
I said, you're saying it's okay to be offensive if there's a message behind it, not just being offensive for offensive sake.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people think different than you or people who think the same as you. In fact, I mean, we can talk for just like a little bit about this cartoon that I just did today for the New Yorker. Some people were offended by it. And there have been messages where people are mad at the message that I said. And let me show the comic, and then we'll talk about why I made it.
I think when I'm saying more so offensive is more so I'm speaking more so on people that are just saying something just to be saying something, not necessarily like having any message that they want to convey behind it. They're just trying to be a contrarian. So whatever everybody else is saying, they're just trying to say the opposite of that to elicit a response, not necessarily because that's something they believe or because they want people to learn or because they're trying to teach something. They're just saying it just to say it, just to get shares and retweets and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's people who do just like straight up shock humor.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either, unless it's like razor sharp smart. Like if it's not perfect. Like there's a friend of mine, she does kind of shock humor all the time. Her name is Micah Fox, but a lot of her stuff is just razor sharp perfect. So it's great from her. But then other people who I've seen actually try to emulate her just can't land
because they don't have the
same type of thing. Exactly. Anyway, here's the comic I did today that people who I think have no reason to be offended by it, but some people were offended by it.
Well, because they're racist. That's why.
But here's why people were offended, and it is because a lot of people. The reason I made this comic, first of all, was because. By the way, if you're listening to this, let me explain what the comic is. If you're listening to this audio only, basically, today is the memorial service for George Floyd, who was murdered by policemen, which is terrible, and. Luckily, it looks like there's going to be some reform based on that was spurred by some of the protests that happened around it. And now a lot of people I saw last night when they were announcing like some of the reforms that they were going to do, and that and the four policemen involved have all been charged. A lot of people were like, "Yay, we did it!" They're like, "Yeah, we've done it!" Like I saw like so many people were like acting as if it was over. And I'm like, as a black man in America, I know it's not over. And so I just made a comic, which basically was just like, which was just like two people on a hill, and it's a black guy and a white guy. And the hill has a sign on it that says, recognizing racism in America. And then the white guy is like leaning down and he's like he's tired and he's like, "Whew, that was quite a hike." And then the black guy is holding his hand out and pointing up the hill to another sign which also points up the hill that says doing something about it. And he says, actually, we're just getting started, just conveying the idea that yes, we have come over a major hurdle, but there's still so much more to do. Anyway, a lot of people found that offensive. And then when it was put on a large platform like the New Yorker, of course, people come out of the woodwork and are just like, what's your problem? And so it's out there. And I don't mind that, because I feel like that the message is very clear. And so I think it's worth it to go there and talk about that, because I feel like the piece is succinct and straightforward enough that it's 100% worth it. And if it were just a piece where it was just like not very well thought out, if it was just like a piece that was just like, "Thanks, white people, barely," because it's kind of saying that too. Okay, if
that's what mine would say.
If the comment was like, "Thanks, white people, barely," then that would not be. That's like shock, and that's not well thought out enough, so that it could be a decent comic. And so it just bears. What I'm saying is it bears considering, like, whatever you're saying. Basically, the rougher the subject matter is you're handling, the better your writing has to be, in my opinion. A lot of people talk about whether or not you can joke about certain things. Like, is this okay to joke about? Is that okay to joke about? And the way I see it is, I feel like you can joke about anything. That's like me. I'm like, my comedy is like hardcore. I feel like you can joke about anything. However, I will say this: if you want to joke about anything, it better be good. Also, if people react negatively to you, it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's your fault, because your job is to communicate. And so if you're an artist, your job, I feel, is to communicate. And so when I'm making something that is around a socially charged issue, I think really, really hard about what I'm trying to say. And in the last few days, especially, it's been really hard to write something that I could put down and say, here's a joke for the world to see that is about what's happening right now, because times are tough. They're really, really tough. I've been personally very angry, and so it's hard. But I think that my job as an artist is to do what I can do, because I'm not. You know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to go down to the protest and fight cops. That's not my thing. Okay. But to be honest, I can actually reach more people if I'm smart about what I'm doing, or I'm smart about how I'm doing. I do what I do well, which is communicate. And so yes, people who are out there protesting are doing a fantastic job. But also, for like that one person who's out there protesting, I'm a one person. And through my art, I'm able to reach a lot more people, because, I mean, when I first started submitting to the New Yorker, I was like, okay, this is a mostly white institution that I want to be part of, and I want to start saying things that, from the point of view of Black people. And so that's not an easy hill to climb, and I'm not even done climbing it, just like this cartoon. So I feel like I put my effort where I can put my effort, and which is like, I'm trying to like carry on the same message that everybody else, that I'm trying to carry on the same message, but in a way where I can contribute, which is my job as an artist. And so if you're an artist out there and you're like, can I make something that's socially conscious? The answer is a resounding yes. Please go do it. Please go do it, but do it well. Be careful, but please do it, because we need it. We need socially conscious art that spreads messages. And so I hope that you're out there doing that. I hope that by the way, so if anybody has any questions, you can ask questions. Right now, what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through.
I put my chair.
Why are you getting shorter? What's happening?
I got a new desk chair, and I was trying to lift it up, but I dropped it down. Sorry. I think a point that you made that is the reason I haven't, is because I'm still angry, and I haven't been able to figure out how to take that anger and make it something creative.
Well, but I am also angry.
How do you get to the point where you're like, okay, I can take this emotion and make it something? How do you I guess channel that into that? I haven't got to that mental space where I can do that yet.
I feel like emotion fuels art always. So whatever the emotion is, like, it's always going to fuel my art. And so like, I am angry. Like when I drew this comic, actually my wife was like, why are you getting up at 5 a.m? And that was to draw this comic because it was on my mind, and I couldn't, I needed to finish it because I felt like it's a message that I felt like people needed to hear. And so because I was angry and because I felt like it was a message that people needed to hear, I just wanted to get it out, and I had to get it out. And I did, but it's just like, when I'm angry, I'm still like creative. Always. You feel like when you're angry, you shut down as far as like creativity goes?
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I create better when I'm in a happier place, so it's hard for me to get into the space to create. Because when I get angry, I want to fight. Like, I want to physically attack. You follow me. So like, I'm trying to get to just a mental place where I'm like, okay, let me channel this into something that's not physically assaulting people. So that's kind of the space that I'm trying to mentally get into, where I'm not attacking people. I've been able to write some jokes, but
is that something that you're trying to take away? Like, are you trying to lose that as part of what you do as an artist? Are you trying to lose that attacking people, or are you gonna like hone it instead?
I'm trying to make it hone. And the crazy thing is, like, I was getting to that space where I was able to do that because my outlet was the stage. So like I could show that emotion and let that anger out on the stage. But now that that's been taken away, it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? Now where do I put that anger? Now how do I make that into something creative? So I'm trying to write something. I actually wrote some jokes about, because some of the people that follow or watching right now know me too. So like I had that incident with the cops when my neighbor pulled that gun out on me, and so I was very, very angry about that. I'm still angry about that because he's still in the complex.
Of course, you should be angry about that.
Like my first mind is like, I want to go over there and punch him in the mouth. Like I want to go knock him out. Like I want to slide him down the stairs. But I, as a parent, I can't do that. So I need to try to figure out how to channel that. So I wrote a joke about it, and the joke actually is pretty good. So I'm getting to that space where I can just write about it instead of like choking people out. So
what would you say your goal is? Like, do you have an overall goal for your work as a comedian? Like, I mean, and can you put like that into words? Like, do you know like what your overall goal is comedy wise?
Kind of. I can't really explain it like in one word. I can kind of just say, like, for me, I kind of want to be, I guess, Donald Glover. So I kind of want to be able to do everything and have different creative outlets that I can put stuff in. And I've always said I wanted to create socially conscious stuff. So I just need to be able to get into the mindset where that's what I can do. But I'm still trying to figure out how. That's some therapy stuff though. Like that's I need to, calm down emotionally and channel my anger.
I think I actually grew into creating some things that are socially conscious. And then also socially conscious comedy. Like when I started, I was all about just goofy. That's all I cared about. I was just like, I just want to be goofy, period. And then, but when I became more interested in doing things that are socially conscious, it kind of like merged where it's like goofy and socially conscious at the same time. And then, I mean, my point of view is almost nihilistic, which we've talked about before. Sorry, Mom. But my point of view is almost nihilistic, and I just think that you pick and choose what's important to you. And so the things that I've decided that are important to me are the things that I want to speak on. And so I think I'm continuing to evolve though
into that. And see, like I'll speak on the issues, but I don't know how to take those thoughts into art. You know what I mean? So like I speak out on stuff, I'll donate to stuff. I do that aspect. I cuss people out for being racist, but it's like as a creative, I know that I'm wasting my abilities. Like I should be taking that anger instead of cursing people out. Instead of doing this, I should be making something with this, like you said, because that can spread further than me just cursing this racist person out. So, but I love it. But I'm trying to evolve.
I'm going to show you another comic that I did, which is socially conscious, which came from a real thing where I was angry. So this is actually from a real story that happened. I was in a bar, and this older drunk white guy was there, and he now in this comic that I'm showing. By the way, if you're listening to this audio, I'm showing the first comic that I ever did for the New Yorker. It has a young black man in a bar and an older white man in a bar. And the white man is leaning over to the black man, and the white man's obviously drunk, and he's saying, "I hope you're ready for some unsolicited and short-sighted advice," is what he's saying to the black guy. And that basically happened where I was in a bar, and a guy figured out that I was black, because I am an albino, so a lot of people don't know I am black, but he figures out that I'm black, and then he really starts laying into me with his advice for black people.
I hate that so much. It's the especially doing comedy and traveling, and you go to all these places, and it's always the older people too. It's always older white people.
Oh yeah, it totally is. And then I didn't really blame him, but I found it incredibly annoying, and I was just like, what? I was upset, but then what I did was I turned it into like this goofy comic, which kind of like encapsulates what it is. It's very strange, actually, because this is actually something that a lot of people don't know about the comics that I've done for the New Yorker, or the comics that even a lot of the comics that I've pitched to the New Yorker. But here's a secret, everybody. Most of the comics that I pitched to the New Yorker are either a white person saying something crazy to a black person, or a black person saying something that disappoints a white person.
So real life. Oh man.
Yeah, it's I mean, that wasn't my goal, but then I realized that that's what I was doing. Like there was a through line in a lot of the comics, and some of them are like just ridiculous. I have one comic that I really like where it's not really about anything. It is about two worms that are dressed as policemen, like they're both wearing police caps, and then there is a bird, and they're looking at a bird, and the bird has a different worm in his mouth, and has a dead worm in his mouth, and the two policemen worms are saying, "Watch out, he's a maniac," because the bird's like eating the worm. And so that is, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what that is. It's funny, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means. We're talking about socially conscious work. I don't even know why I mentioned that, everybody. Let's just talk about one more socially conscious thing that I did during this time, a socially conscious piece of art or comic that I did during this time. And then if there are any questions, we'll answer any questions. Otherwise, we're going to end the show. We don't have a guest this week on our live show, but we will have a guest in our recorded show, which you'll get later. It's Tracy McClinton. You'll see her later on.
I think my anger has just been amplified because of the quarantine too. Like trying to find an outlet. Do you have any tips for that? Like since we're in the quarantine, what do you feel like are the best creative outlets for that, other than just drawing? For those of us that can't draw, do you recommend any?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends what you are interested in, because I do all kinds of stuff. And so of the kind of things that I do, I'm always just doing creative things. I have a bunch of artists that I draw with. There's a way you can community draw on one canvas. And so usually on Wednesdays, I like to get together with them. It's a bunch of Canadian animators, and then they're all actually way better artists than I am. And so it's super intimidating for me, but I'm trying to force myself to do it. I play Dungeons and Dragons because I'm a big nerd. I play video games, which is always fun. I like to make video games, which I'm working on some stuff right now. I like to make music. I do a lot of stuff. I just keep, I keep making stuff. I probably am I'm always burying myself in art. So I'm always making something. So, I mean, I may be even doing it too much, but who knows?
No, I don't think you can do it too much. I don't think
all right. So let's see. Are there any questions? No, it doesn't look like there's any questions.
The butt ratio is off on that comic. The kid's having his butt choked out by his belt or something.
That's what I said. They draw better than I do. You're right. Thank you for pointing out my foibles. Yeah,
on the butt.
Yeah, my foible. I wasn't great. I'm getting better at my anatomy. And that's exactly, it was really funny. I was working with those artists. Remember the artists that I was talking about that I draw with, and everybody draws better than me. So I was super intimidated, and I was drawing Mr. Peanut, and then I was trying to draw the texture of a peanut on Mr. Peanut, and then one of the artists goes, "Oh, I love your peanut. I love your hairy peanut," and I was like, "Hairy?"
That's his skin.
I was my heart just sank. I was like, no.
Did you go with it?
Yes, I went with it, but I told them what had happened. I mean, sometimes I just make stupid things. Here's just a stupid meme that I made.
Memes are a valid form of art. I will say I have been expressing my anger through memes, and
memes are definitely a valid form of art.
It feels really good.
Yeah, and this is a great one. I had one that I really liked where someone was doing a meme where they were like, "My plans," and then 2020.
Oh, I did.
Have you done that meme?
Yeah, which I did want. Do you watch? Have you seen Hunter x Hunter?
Hunter what?
Hunter or Hunter x Hunter. It depends on if you pronounce it.
I have not seen Hunter x Hunter.
Well, then you won't get the meme. I did it. For those of you that saw it, it's on my page. It's hilarious. I can't even explain it if you haven't seen it. Somebody did this to Anonymous. They put the nails and the lashes on. Hold on, I have to find it.
Okay. Yeah, then you can share it. So here's the 2020 meme that I did. If you're out there watching, this is from RoboCop, the movie RoboCop, one of the best movies that Paul Verhoeven has ever made. And it says there's a character, I forgot what his name was, but he's like kind of like this wormy guy with like a red beard. And it says, "My plans" is him when he's looking cool. But then later on, he gets a bunch of chemicals dumped on him and he starts to melt. And then so that was my 2020. This is very hard to explain for you listening audio wise. I think we're going to bring this to a close once we see your meme. Did you find it or no?
Yeah, I found it. I'm about to share it.
You can share your screen and I'll dump this screen off. Boom, dumping this screen off, and you can share your screen. Let you guys, if you're all watching out there, you should know next week we're going to teach our very first free workshop. The workshop is going to be about how to make nice.
I love memes.
We're going to teach our very first free workshop. The workshop is going to be about how to make a web series, and we're going to teach you from beginning to end, not only how to plan a web series, but also going to talk about the equipment needed, how to edit, where to find your free editing software. We actually did an episode where we talked about it for a short amount, but this is actually going to be like about 2 hours and going to take you through everything from beginning to end about how to make your own web series. So if you are following our Facebook page or following us on social media, you will hear about it. So make sure you follow if you're out there. All right, everybody, let's start wrapping this up. Thank you for tuning in to the Arts Academy podcast. Once again, I'm Dean Victor Varnado. I'm here with Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Make sure to visit us at artsacademypodcast.com.